Sleep. It's a simple word for a daily habit that seems so ordinary, so routine, that most of us rarely pause to consider its history or deeper meaning. Yet, if you trace the story of how humans have slept, how our cultures and religions have regarded sleep, and the words associated with it through the ages, you'll uncover a tapestry richer than it first seems, one that reveals much about our physical needs, our societies, and even our connection to the divine. Imagine life thousands of years ago, before the glow of the light bulb, when day and night were governed entirely by the sun, fire, and stars. In ancient times, the way people slept was markedly different from our modern 8-hour block. Across societies in Europe, Asia, and beyond, nightly rest often took the form of segmented sleep. After sunset, families and communities would retire, slipping into the first phase of sleep. Then, after a few hours, they naturally awoke in the moonlit midnight. This was not unusual or disruptive. Rather, it was accepted and even valued. People used this quiet interlude, the watch of the night, for meditation, conversation, prayer, or even practical tasks like tending a fire or checking on livestock. After an hour or two, they returned to bed for a second sleep, waking refreshed with the dawn. Why did they do this? Partly, it was the rhythm of nature, but cultural and spiritual traditions also gave shape and meaning to this nocturnal pause. In the silence of midnight, many believed the human heart was most open to reflection, calm, and, perhaps most compellingly, to communication with God. In old Christian writings, this time was thought of as the perfect occasion for listening to God's voice. Deep calls to deep in the roar of your waterfalls, as the Psalms poetically put it, suggesting that the depths of human spirit could meet the divine in the watchful quiet of the night. As the centuries passed and the Middle Ages dawned, the spiritual significance of sleep became ever more pronounced. In monasteries scattered across Europe, monks and nuns wove daily life around a liturgy that didn't just tolerate interruptions to slumber, it required them. The hours before the sun's rise were given to sacred rituals, vigils, matins, prayers recited in stone-cold chapels while the world slept on. Dreams, too, captured attention. These were not just random flickers of the mind. Many believed dreams could carry messages from the divine, insights, or, at times, warnings for faithful souls. It was here, in the heart of medieval faith, that sleep was both physiological need and spiritual blessing. He gives sleep to those he loves, reads Psalm 127:2. A line that reminds us sleep was seen not as indulgence or idleness, but as a gracious gift from God. The Christian Sabbath, a day of rest, mirrored this idea. To rest was to honor God's own pattern in creation, work paired with sacred pause. But sleep has not always been so leisurely or revered. With the arrival of the industrial age, humanity's relationship with rest fundamentally shifted. The rise of factories and bustling cities demanded a new structure of time. Artificial light, first gas, then electric, banished darkness, stretching the working day further into the night. Employers needed workers alert and efficient, not wandering in and out of segmented slumber. Slowly, the two-sleep pattern gave way to the continuous stretch we know today. Yet even as the world sped up, wise voices, often from faith communities, warned of the hazards of forsaking rest. Without proper sleep, they said, the mind grows foggy, the spirit irritable, and the soul restless. The pressure to work late and wake early pulled people from that deep well of physical and spiritual nourishment found in rest. The loss was more than just fatigue. It was, in the words of some religious teachers, a drift away from peace and, ultimately, from God. Today, with all our scientific breakthroughs, we understand more than ever the vital functions of sleep. Studies show that sleep refreshes our bodies, helps consolidate memory, supports learning, and heals the immune system. And yet, the ancient questions remain. Is sleep just a biological necessity, or is there something deeper going on? Why is it that so many of us, lying in bed before drifting off, find our best ideas, our sharpest insights, or our most heartfelt prayers? Why, in those moments of half-dream, do some people say they feel closest to God, or sense the meaning of things more clearly than in the rush of daytime? The religious texts continue to offer guidance. The Bible tells stories of Jesus asleep in the midst of a dangerous storm, a symbol of tranquil trust in the Father even when chaos rages outside. The Quran speaks of how God takes the souls at the time of their death, and those that do not die during their sleep. A poetic recognition of sleep as a cousin to mortality. a nightly surrender to something greater. Across traditions, rest is not portrayed as laziness or weakness, but as a time to heal, to let go, and to let the soul listen. These ancient messages echo in every culture. Indigenous peoples around the world practice dream ceremonies, viewing late-night insights and visions as personal visitations or guidance. In Jewish tradition, prayers for protection and peace are recited before sleep. Buddhists meditate on the breath before bedtime, fostering a state of wakeful rest. In the end, the history of sleep might sound uneventful, nothing but humans closing their eyes night after night. But embedded in this ordinary cycle are extraordinary truths. Sleep is a physical necessity, but it is also a profound spiritual invitation. Each night, whether we notice it or not, we pass through a threshold into rest, into the dark and silent places where the noisy world recedes. In those hours, our bodies repair, our memories reorder, and perhaps our hearts become still enough to perceive whispers of something holy. To sleep, then, is to surrender, to trust that we need not do everything by our own strength. It is a kind of faith, a letting go. So as you prepare for sleep each night, remember the lessons tucked into its quiet history. From ancient midnight watchers to dreaming saints, from the warnings of weary factory workers to today's neuroscientists, the message remains. Sleep is not just a break from life. It is, in its quiet way, a message from God, a wordless reminder that rest, peace, and wholeness are gifts meant for each of us. And in that quiet, maybe, if you listen closely, you'll hear something you were never expecting. Wisdom, comfort, and, yes, perhaps even a word from the divine.